guarantee they know it's good. I will do the same thing. Sure. It's just to get down, you know. That's a good question.
I don't think it's going to disturb anything.
It's not going to distract anyone else.
I don't think it will.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome. I'm so glad to have you. I'm here to tell you we're not starting yet because there's still a bunch of people coming. Apparently one of the streets is blocked off with emergency vehicles due to something that happened, we don't know what. And so we're just going to give folks that probably had to drive around to park a little bit. So if you don't mind being patient for a moment, then we'll give them a little bit of time to get in, and then we'll get cranking, okay? Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mark Goodness, Senior Pastor here, and we just wanted to take a minute to welcome you to First Centenary. If you're still coming in, there's plenty of seats. If you need to get a bulletin, we have some around, and the restrooms are out to this way if you need to know that. I told Jonathan I'd be real fast with this, so if we can help you as a staff, we would love to. If you see us around, we got our little name tags. Love to have you. Thank you for being here tonight. It's our pleasure to have you to be a part of this great experience tonight. Again, thanks so much.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Jerry Hale. I'm the Provost and Senior Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at UTC. And I've been excitedly anticipating this event ever since being asked to attend and to make welcome remarks. I've been looking forward to this evening because I appreciate the arts in all of their forms. When not at work at UTC, I'm a landscape photographer who reads poetry aloud, goes to the theater, and loves every musical genre that exists. The blending of artistic genres is especially powerful, and I am so looking forward to tonight. I've been looking forward to this evening because I'm excited also to represent UTC at an event that brings positive attention to behavioral health issues. A significant proportion of the population experiences behavioral health challenges, and those in our community who do not likely have a friend, a family member, a loved one, or a coworker who does. Arts therapies facilitate healing, and the burgeoning field of neuroaesthetics is providing exciting information and a greater understanding of the relationship between aesthetics and health. Finally, one of the things that I appreciate most about the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga is that its community collaborations to improve the quality of life in the city and in East Tennessee are part of its very fabric. And that relationship between the university and the community is reciprocal. The community, including CHI and including this congregation, makes UTC the very best university that it can be. I've been looking forward to tonight because this event is a great example of community partners working together to positively affect health and wellness. Thank you very much for being here, and I also want to take this opportunity to wish you a joyous World Poetry Day today. And it's now my pleasure to introduce to you the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at UTC, Dr. Pamela Riggs-Galasco. I first met Pam when we were both working at the College of Charleston together. I as the Dean of the School of Humanities and Social Sciences, and Pam as the department chair in the Department of Chemistry. Before becoming the dean here, she had a long-standing appreciation also for the arts in all of its genres. And one of the things about a dean of arts and sciences is that the breadth of the college that you're presiding over is so great that there are always departments that worry about whether they will be understood by the dean whose discipline is something else. And Pam has been the sort of leader at UTC who's been able to put all of those fears to rest. She also has an abiding love for the arts in all of its forms, and she and her husband Andy have a perfectly wonderful daughter who is a freshman right now at Florida State University, and Katie Jo is a dual major in biochemistry and in cello. And so I'm looking forward to hearing Dr. Riggs-Galasco's remarks to you as well. Pam?
Thank you, Dr. Hale, and welcome everyone. And I also want to thank First Centenary Church and Dr. Gooden for letting us borrow this beautiful space for tonight's event. March is Social Work Month, and this year's theme is "The Time is Right for Social Work." So it's fitting that one of our campus partners for this evening's event is the Graduate Program of Social Work, which is led by Dr. Amy Doolittle. And she leads her students out into the community, working with area nonprofits as part of their education and as a way to enrich the community. The organizer of tonight's event is Dr. Jonathan McNair, a member of the music faculty since 2000. Dr. McNair was appointed the Ruth S. Holmberg Professor of Music in 2014. In this capacity, he has presented numerous concerts that feature guest composers and a diverse lineup of guest performers. These programs have focused on American folk music, as well as events that highlight African American composers, performers, and leaders. Tonight's event began with his reading the poetry by Jane Kenyon addressing mental health. Work began last summer on this partnership, and it includes the agencies represented here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's such a delight to work with Dr. Riggs-Galasco in the College of Arts and Sciences. She's been incredibly supportive. She is a musician herself and understands us. I really want to say a thank you to our sponsors, CHI Memorial, who gave us a generous grant through their community benefits program. I want to thank Ms. Nicole Brown, who is the manager of community benefits and diversity at CHI Memorial. She connected me with Chyela Rowe at CHI Arts Therapies, and you're going to hear from her later. And Nicole also told me about the grant program that I was unaware of, so I'm very grateful. I want to thank Dr. Rick Scholasco, the Dean, for financial support for this event, as well as arranging to come back from a professional conference in time to be here tonight. So that's something. Dr. Linda Frost, Dean of the Honors College at UTC, gave financial support and is participating tonight. You'll meet her later as well, and she has been a partner in other collaborative events that I've organized in the past. The Chancellor's Office, Dr. Steve Engel, gave some financial support, and I appreciate Provost Hale for representing that office here tonight. Thank you, sir. Grateful to First Centenary United Methodist Church for hosting the event, providing the services of Dagan Beckett up in the audio booth back there. I want you to know that Dagan made a documentary about the songbirds space here in Chattanooga, and it won an Emmy. Dagan won an Emmy. Yeah, amazing. Dr. Jan McNair, who is the Director of Music and Worship, did a lot of helpful work on details in the background on this event tonight, too, and I really appreciate her help. She happens to be my wife, but I have the great privilege of being appointed the Holmberg Professor of American Music, and it helps to make programs like this possible, because there's some funding there that otherwise would make it difficult to find enough sometimes, and it also helps to attract partners when they're not footing the entire bill. So I'm really grateful to the folks who set that up, originally in honor of Dr. Roland Carter, who's Professor Emeritus and a dear friend. The artist who designed the posters, and there was one on an easel in the back, if you haven't seen them. She also did the social media banner. Sadie Montague, she is an art student at UTC, a lot of talented artists there, and I really appreciate Sadie spending time with me and reading the poetry, listening to music, and coming up with the design, and to Matt Greenwell, one of her professors who connected us. I learned a lot putting this event together. I learned a lot from the campus partners like the Counseling Center and the Center for Wellbeing. I learned a lot from the community partners, such as Volunteer Behavioral Services and CHI Memorial and the Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network and the National Alliance on Mental Illness. These folks were super helpful to me in understanding more about what's out there in the community and available to folks that I had no idea. And so you have an opportunity to hear a little bit about that tonight and to find more information in the lobby after the concert. Now for some music. Yeah! So the first selection is joyful music. It's based on two ancient melodies, plus a little snippet of a song by Gustav Mahler from the 1890s. The ancient melodies are chant melodies, and one is a song that says essentially, where true love is, the kind of love that's a giving love, God is there. And the other ancient melody asks that those who have died be granted eternal rest. The song by Mahler sings about the original light, the primordial light. The music is titled In Memoriam because it was composed in memory of persons who had died. But the fact that the music is joyful is a reminder that if you lose a loved one, a friend, a family member, the love that was there, the good memories, can bring joy even in the midst of grief. Ford Furkreen, the clarinetist, and Daniel Anastasia, the pianist, are founding members of the Unheard of Ensemble, who are guests of us tonight, and we're delighted to have them here at the end of a long tour that has taken them from San Antonio to New Orleans, to Alabama, to 2 locations in Georgia, and to Chattanooga State last week, then to Georgia, and then back up here tonight. So these guys are well-traveled.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Keelan Rickard. I'm the director of the UTC Counseling Center. We are a service for enrolled students. We provide individual, couples, and group therapy to enrolled students. We're located on the 3rd floor of the University Center, right above the bookstore. We encourage students to come by and check us out. We also provide consultation to the UTC community. We provide outreach and educational programming as well. So if you have a need for a mental health topic, please contact us and we're happy to help you with that. And swing by our table afterward. We have a survey we'd like you to complete for tonight's event.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Laura Pierce of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, often known as NAMI Chattanooga. At NAMI Chattanooga, our mission is to improve the lives of those with mental illness, their families, and their communities through mutual support, education, and advocacy. All of our programs are led by those with lived experience, people that have walked in the shoes of those we serve, and they are all provided free of charge for anyone whose lives have been impacted by mental illness. Next, I'd like to introduce Erika Roberts. Erika Roberts is a poet and spoken word artist, as well as a community activist. She's had considerable impact on Chattanooga community through her poetry and her creative strategy work with the city, the Glass Farm and the Glass House Initiative, the Hunter Museum of American Art, and CHI Memorial. Her poem, Emotional Paper, was written especially for this event.
The murky mysteries of the malignant masses loosely looked last thoughts place sounds against glaciers of green glass. Abstract doesn't mean subtract, but means the addition of the eyes, peering deeper, seek more completion while avoiding the definite deletion. This is just my interpretation, a poetic deviation into a more clearer, definite rendering of a soft breath, a tender tears, lending their aid in the releasing of a pain that dwells so deep beneath the surface of the deserted. The prickly pasture of emotions, positive reinforcement of the rain that falls outside the window of despair. In this game, is it real or superficially just unfair? The salty wetness presses ever so gently against the pulse of the almost dead. A slow death of feelings, a fast revival of hurt. No hallelujahs, just slow, emotional pleasantries. As I write furiously, seeking the pen that is red, the color of corrections, the manipulating of directions. I'm lost somewhere between the lines 1 and 2, and for this time from my tears, the words they flow, letters sliding down my face, leaving a bitter trace. If only the watchers knew that these wet blades of feelings hurt like the coldest fire, like the driest heat. These shards of liquid glass, they cloud my eyes as they lock under my chin, collecting themselves and waiting on the leap of faith, waiting to be wiped away into a tissue of forgetfulness. But this is real. It's pain planted and pinched into poems. It's playful pleasures placed near us. It's prickly pear pairing perfectly with petrified picket fences, my boundaries. Puzzled at where the door used to be, a special entrance now around the back. This is the most complex dance of thought to paper, of sighs that just cry, giving a moment of release. Part of therapy, definitely my healing. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jimmy Catlett. I'm the Center Director for Johnson Mental Health Center. You may also know us by our umbrella organization, Volunteer Behavioral Health. We're located on the North Shore, just off Cherokee Boulevard, on the block of Spring Street and Bell Avenue. We offer a comprehensive array of behavioral health services to any and all who are experiencing mental and emotional difficulties. Those services include individual and group therapy, intensive outpatient programs, crisis intervention, case management, and medication management. We are delighted to be with you tonight and have already enjoyed this rich, multifaceted artistic expression. We're back in the lobby. Stop by and say hello.
And good evening. I'm Lucy White, the Assistant Director for Education and Suicide Prevention in the Center for Wellbeing at UTC. The Center for Wellbeing helps to support students in mental health and overall health through running dynamic and creative programs on campus, as well as providing any kind of specialized trainings and presentations for faculty and staff and campus partners. I'm also in the lobby, and please come see me and talk to me. Next is Dr. Allie Allerton has been a vital member of the UTC music faculty since 2016. She is in demand as a choral clinician for festivals and as a presenter at music conferences. The Women's Chorale will sing Never One Thing by May Erlewine, which reminds us that as human beings, we may inhabit different and conflicting emotional spaces, and that is totally fine. Soloists are Marion Burgess, Olivia Parker, and Corey Pilgrim.
Good evening. My name is Betsy Camerdiner, and I am the Mission Director for CHI Memorial. Memorial, for many years, from the beginning, has had a mission to care for the physical, mental, and spiritual well-being, not only of our patients, but of our community, and above all, to advance social justice in any means possible, which includes visual and performing and creative arts therapy. Which brings me to Chyela Rowe. Chyela is our arts therapist and well-being program coordinator. She's a mental health coordinator and a registered drama therapist with over 20 years of work here in Chattanooga, bringing visual and performing arts to support health and well-being in our community. She's also a doctoral candidate in expressive therapies at Lesley University in Cambridge, Massachusetts, with a research focus on the use of drama therapy and peer support to address burnout in healthcare. And above all, Chyela is a gift to us all.
Thank you, Betsy. I could say the same about you. And thank you, Dr. McNair, for inviting me to be here this evening. It's an honor to be able to be here and to share about my work and about that connection between creativity and mental health. When you invited me to come and speak on this topic, I thought, gosh, where do I even begin? So I think I'm going to begin with a little bit of an origin story. I'm going to tell you about my earliest memories of that connection between the arts and well-being. I was probably about a year old. And I remember at that time being held by my dad, and he had his vinyl record on the record player and his self-built speaker system back in the 1970s, and he played his rock and roll loud, very loud, and he would hold me in his arms and we'd rock and sway, and I don't know if I was a baby that fussed a lot or what that was all about. Maybe it was just trying to bring me in and connect me to whatever his experience was with that music and the beat and the sound and the drive and the kind of overwhelming power of that music and the movement that went with that. And I have to tell you about my dad, a little bit about my dad. He wasn't an easy guy. Probably bipolar, struggled with a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. The world was not always right for him. But when the music played, things were okay. And I think I learned that connection and I brought that into my body, into myself. And when I was okay was when I was dancing. When the music played and my body moved, I was okay. And I took that into my adult life. And when I went to college, I thought, okay, I'm going to study psychology, and I'm going to study theater and dance and art, and I'm going to make up this new thing where we connect those things together, right? That's what I thought. And luckily, in my research, I discovered that there was already those connections being made. As far back, I suppose in the West, we could say, to Aristotle, in the Greek times, they were already making that connection intentionally. But in the United States, we developed those fields of creative arts therapies from about the 1950s, 60s, and 70s on. And we've got a lot of research around that now. So how do we understand that connection here? Why tonight are we sitting here having a conversation in support of mental health through the mediums of poetry and music? Well, we're doing that because it's already there. And we know this, right? The musician knows this. The singers know this. Ladies, when you stood up here tonight and the music, that beat of the drum came, and you let out that first, you took in a breath and you let out that first note. You knew it, right? You knew it right then that you were well in that moment. And with Erika, oh my goodness, Erika, reading your poem, it hit me. I had to fight back my own tears when you described the shape and the texture and the feel and the sound of tears coming down your face. In that moment, those words, those pictures that came into my mind, it was the most beautifully accurate way of describing that feeling that I'm not sure we have other words to be able to say. So I did tell you a little bit about my background. I'm a drama therapist. Don't know if you're familiar with drama therapy. We talk a lot about music therapy in Chattanooga. We talk a lot about art therapy in Chattanooga, and we have some really fabulous dance movement therapists in Chattanooga. But drama therapy is kind of like the unicorn of the creative arts therapies, I guess. In my mind, I chose it because it was already intermodal. We get to use visual art, we get to use dance, we get to use singing, we get to use acting out and storytelling. It's all there inherent. But for me, when I think about how I would describe in a therapeutic use of my childhood experiences with a dad who wasn't always right and well, we might take that into a different form, like a dragon. You know, that anger gets turned into a big monster that we tromp around doing. Or maybe it might come in the form of taking on a big, heavy, wet cloud that drips that sadness out. In those embodied moments, in those sounds, in those rhythms, in those intonations of words, in those melodies, in all of these things, in those movements, in those big breaths, those are the moments when our brain goes from that sympathetic system that's stressed and dumping cortisol into our body and making us want to run out the door. That art comes in. It's the helper, it's the parasympathetic friend, and it comes in and it takes over and it calms that stress hormone. It allows us to expand our thoughts. It lets those neural pathways get longer and longer to go through those creative spaces to come up with new solutions, new ideas, new ways of coping. It allows us to be resilient in a way that we can't do when we're afraid. So that's why we're here. That's why we're here tonight. We're here to hear Having It Out with Melancholy. And we're going to do that through music. That's the title of a group of 9 poems by Jane Kenyon, an American poet who dealt with clinical depression all of her life. She died of leukemia in 1995 at the age of 47, and in her short life, she published 4 volumes of poetry that were well received and even critically acclaimed. She gave attention to the natural world and to everyday happenings in her poetry, and that probed more deeply in her later work. So Having It Out with Melancholy powerfully explores a variety of experiences of a person with depression. Composer Jonathan McNair responded to these poems in the music we're about to hear, in seeking to convey states of mind and emotion from the poems. The music is in 5 movements and is titled after the poetry cycle. Selections of the poetry will be read before each movement by Dr. Linda Frost. Is she here? Yeah, it's your turn. Come on up. Dr. Linda Frost is professor of English and founding dean of the Honors College at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. A poet, Frost's poems have appeared in such journals as Rhino, Witness, Columbia, and Birmingham Poetry Review. and she was the founding editor of award-winning women's literary magazine PMS, Poem Memoir Story. It's now titled Nell, if you want to look it up. Welcome, Dr. Frost. Thank you.
Erika on violin, and Eva Castellanos on cello.
I'll be reading selections of the poems of Jane Kenyon's and ending each passage with the title of the next movement of Jonathan's piece. In and out. The dog searches until he finds me upstairs, lies down with a clatter of elbows, puts his head on my foot. Sometimes the sound of his breathing saves my life. In and out, a pause, a long sigh. Pardon. We move on to the monoamine oxidase inhibitors. Day and night, I feel as if I'd drunk 6 cups of coffee, but the pain stops abruptly. With the wonder and bitterness of someone pardoned for a crime she did not commit, I come back to marriage and friends, to pig-fringed hollyhocks, come back to my desk, my books, and share. Credo. Pharmaceutical wonders are at work, but I believe only in this moment of well-being. Unholy ghost, you are certain to come again. Coarse, mean, you'll put your feet on the coffee table, lean back, and turn me into someone who can't take the trouble to speak, someone who can't sleep, or who does nothing but sleep, can't read, or call for an appointment for help. Having it out with melancholy. From the nursery. When I was born, you waited behind a pile of linen in the nursery, and when we were alone, you lay down on top of me, pressing the bile of desolation into every pore. And from that day on, everything under the sun and moon made me sad. Even the yellow wooden beads that slid and spun along a spindle on my crib. You taught me to exist without gratitude. You ruined my manners toward God. We're here simply to wait for death. The pleasures of earth are overrated. I only appeared to belong to my mother, to live among blocks and cotton undershirts with snaps, among red tin lunchboxes and report cards in ugly brown slipcases. I was already yours, the anti-urge, the mutilator of souls. Mutilator of souls. Pardon. A piece of burned meat wears my clothes, speaks in my voice, dispatches obligations haltingly or not at all. It is tired of trying to be stout-hearted, tired beyond measure. Suggestion from a friend. You wouldn't be so depressed if you really believed in God. A species of pain. Often I go to bed as soon after dinner as seems adult. I try to wait for dark in order to push away from the massive pain in sleep's frail wicker coracle, the frail coracle of sleep. Once there was light. Once, in my early 30s, I saw that I was a speck of light in the great river of light that undulates through time. I was floating with the whole human family. We were all colors, those who are living now, those who have died, those who are not yet born. For a few moments I floated, completely calm, and I no longer hated having to exist. Wood thrush. High on Nardal and June light, I wake at 4, waiting greedily for the first notes of the wood thrush. Easeful air presses through the screen with the wild, complex song of the bird, and I am overcome by ordinary contentment. What hurt me so terribly all my life until this moment? How I love the small, swiftly beating heart of the bird singing in the great maples, its bright, unequivocal eye. A speck of light.
If you'll let our folks get to their tables in the back really quickly, and then if you would like to speak with them, get information from them, they'll be back there for you.